I want to show you a clip, and then let's talk about it.
And I remember I had to learn this because, when you go to Bible college and everything, you become such a studier of God's word. Sometimes you forget the practical and the real. One of my spiritual sons, some of you would know him if you've been here a long time. Others of you wouldn't. He's not in our church anymore, but his name is Brandan. And Brandan was an intern here, and I call him a spiritual son because in his teenage and young adult years, I mentored him, and then he went on to my alma mater, Moody Bible Institute. Well, Brandan, when he was in his 20s at Moody or just after Moody, came out as LGBTQ+. And Brandan and I, had many talks about this, and maybe we don't see everything eye to eye, but I've learned from him that he is not an issue. He's a person. And through our conversation, he said, Pastor, I am not just an issue to debate. I'm a real person. This is my life. And now, Brandan may have an issue, and we all do, but he's not an issue. We may not agree on everything, but I committed to him then, and I still commit to him now, that I'm not going to disown him as my spiritual son. We all have issues, and we all have struggles where we have to figure out what is holiness and what is right or wrong.
So this is a video from the pastor of my childhood church, a pastor that I consider a friend and a spiritual mentor still to this day, talking about how we maintain a relationship even though we see things very differently on the topic of LGBT inclusion in the church. Now, I don't agree with everything that Dr. Anderson says in this video, and it's true. We have had some robust conversations, disagreements, and debates. But what he says is actually true. That when we move from seeing people as issues to seeing them as full people made in the image of God, there's a generative space where healing can begin, where bridges can be built, where we can learn from one another, and we can move forward together. Dr. Anderson and I see very differently on the topic of LGBT inclusion, and yet we continue to have a robust relationship and support one another in many ways and doing much good in the world. And this is my prayer for the future of our country in this moment. Wherever it's possible, wherever we've been healed enough from our own trauma and harm, and I realize that some people might not have the space to heal because they're still in toxic relationships, but where there is healing, let us try to be open to build bridges with people who see things differently. Let us be open to listen and to learn from people who see the world differently than us. Let us not go quickly to demonizing, but to listening, to learning, and to loving people who see the world differently. Because I believe this is how we can change the world, and I believe this is the call of our faith, to love our neighbors as we love ourselves.